Let me tell you something. I've been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Welcome to Market Makers, everybody. Your home for tomorrow's TA today. Often imitated, never replicated. Did you guys miss me? In case you've been living under a rock, or maybe you just live in a foreign country, we had a massive hurricane do a direct hit in my region in the Florida Panhandle. Hurricane Helene last week did a lot of destruction in my area, house damage, my car got damaged. Power's out all over the area. Power poles snapped in half, trees down everywhere. But, honestly, the coast got decimated, but perhaps the worst damage, as you guys probably seen on the news, is up in the Carolinas, particularly North Carolina, by the deluge of rain that got dropped on them. And horror stories are coming out of there, like the grandparents with their 6-year-old grandchild on top of the roof trying to get rescued. They got swept away. They all passed away. The death toll's over 150 now, over 1,000 people missing. They're talking about this being over 200 billion in damages right now. So a lot of people's lives got changed forever. So I'm thankful because overall, nobody I know was hurt or injured. And, the things that happen here at the ranch look minor compared to what other people are going through. But I'm excited to be back and make some videos. I've basically been on a media blackout for a few days. And guys, I took a break with my daughter. Yesterday was my birthday. I turned 46 October 1st, and my daughter had got us front row tickets to the 40th anniversary tour on Sunday, this past Sunday, to Violent Femmes in St. Augustine Amphitheater, which is where I grew up in St. Augustine. And that was a lot of fun. But man, did I feel old. Right? Because I saw them in the 90s, back when those guys were in their 30s, and now I'm 46 and they're in their 60s. So that was kind of surreal. But have you guys been watching the markets? Because the last video that I made, October 2nd top for the S&P, right? What just happened? September 30th, you got a new all-time high, closing high for the S&P and for the Dow on September 30th. 2 days prior to the October 2nd top. Yesterday, I saw breaking news. I was getting back into the stream of things, talking to guys in the Discord. Breaking news as I'm watching Bloomberg. Israel-Iran conflict heated back up. Got this retracement. Just be aware, there's always a reason for something when you're reactive. And you see this on YouTube TA. You see it in the media as well, right? Market goes down. Well, Nike's numbers weren't good, blah, blah, blah. Market goes up. Oh, people really liked what the Fed Chair Powell had to say. And you see the same thing in the YouTube TA, right? Especially the guys that have to do these daily shows. They're always reacting to something and they give you a reason. Dark pool money, big short squeeze, market manipulation is a very popular one. But what I'm drilling down to here is if you guys have been watching this channel this year, you know the cycle. You've known the cycle for months, the GFC cycle. It's how we nailed the top and drop. It's not fortune telling, the summer top and drop. It's because the market has done that 5 years in a row. So I predicted it weeks ahead of time, gave you the target to the penny, 5120 on the S&P, and we hit it. We talked about the market breaking back up for a new all-time high when everybody's focused on it breaking down the next leg down. And this all had to do with the rate cut rally that we were going to get, right? The September 18th rate cut, the same in 2008. The market rallied the very next day, and that's where we're levitating now. And of course, now all over YouTube, you see people with thumbnails that basically have my TA from 2 months ago talking about, well, we could rally for 3 weeks, right? Looking for an October top. You guys have known this for months watching this channel. And the big catalyst this week that the market once again and YouTube TA is going to react to is the non-farm payrolls on Friday. Now that's supposed to come in somewhere around 125, 140K on non-farm payrolls. This is the number the government cooks. Remember, this is the number that got revised down, 818,000. Last year. So this is going to be a fake number. We have an election in a month. It's going to be a fake number. But will that fake number be higher or lower? And of course, the unemployment, which is supposed to come in static at 4.2%, that could tick up or it could stay at 4.2%. Andrew Hollenhorst at Citi, who's probably separated from birth, my twin brother or something, but he has 75K for the non-farm, 75K and 4.3 on unemployment. If he's right, massive sell-off will ensue. The economy is slowing dramatically. Unemployment is going to continue to rise. The market has the rosiest expectations for 2025. Why? Because the Fed, no recessionary forecast. Wall Street, no recessionary forecast. Your loving and caring government, is incompetent and stupid as they are, no recessionary forecast. So understand, nobody is forecasting a recession. It's an outlier. So if you get these numbers showing you something different, you're going to have panic and panic selling. So you need to be prepared for that. I want to show you how this market's topping right now based on the price action over the last week. And I want to show you the support levels that you have to hold, or you're going to know something's really changing. This is US equities, global equities, and Bitcoin. Guys, understanding the cycle is like having a guide map, a roadmap in front of you. You may not nail every single little turn in the market. You won't necessarily know the reason why it's going to do something, but when it does it, the reason doesn't matter if you know the timing and you know the prices to look for. So that's what we do on this channel. If you like this information, be sure to subscribe. Guys, if you want to hang out with me and my staff, check out our Discord. You can join right through YouTube with the join button. I hope to see you guys there. Lee, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. All right, boys and girls, if you want to trade these markets, definitely check out SimpleFX. Most of the countries in the world can trade there. Fantastic exchange. Our link is in the video description. It helps support the channel, and it's a fantastic exchange to be on, period. Guys, let's go ahead and talk about the markets. On the left, S&P Futures 2007. On the right, S&P Futures 2024. And I want to look at this again. Remember, 3 lunar cycles, as well as our Fibonacci counts, gave us the first top in 2007, then the second top to the day, which is actually 89 days, which is also a Fibonacci count. A lunar cycle is 29.5 days. And then the Fibonacci count on the bottom of 56 days from that retracement low, right? You guys know the pivots. We've been over them in the last few videos. You're aware of this. In the current market, our lunar cycle started July 5th. The third lunar cycle was right here, October 2nd, which is also a ring of fire eclipse. The market topped 2 days prior on a closing basis right here, September 30th. We got our top, okay? We got the top, and now we got the drop. Say it was the conflict, doesn't matter, whatever. And now you're on October 2nd. Our Fibonacci count also kicked in here for this pivot. So we had a lot of pivots here, but this quadrant of what's going to happen next is what we're going to focus on, because that catalyst of this Friday, strong job numbers, unemployment stays static, you're going to see a retest of the highs, or I believe a false break high in the S&P. And I'm going to show you where it did this before. This pink line over here is October 11th, the exact same final topping date over here in 2007. So we're going to look at all these options here available. Let's look at 2022 on the S&P futures. Very important to look at. And of course, 2024, 2022. Look at how we topped. You see the W pattern? You guys know this watching this channel. I saw a YouTube guy trying to describe this pattern in 2022. And he's like, the market went up and then it went down and then it went up and then it went down and then it went back up again. I was like, yeah, it's a W. My God. But then you look at 2024, how you do here, which is another W pattern, identical fractal topping pattern. But the point I want to show you guys is right here, the actual top. Okay. Now look at this. This is really incredible. You guys know I love patterns. This really gets me amped up here. Look at this. So we had the rally up from the W, and then what did we do? We made our first high. We pulled back for 2 days. We rallied for 2 days, and then boom, capitulation on our way down 57%. Okay. This is a false break double top. What do I mean by that? You made your first high. You see the fractal there, the green arrow? You made your first high, you sold off, and you falsely broke out to the upside. You tricked a lot of people thinking you're going higher because you took out that previous high, and then massive sell-off. And this is what you guys got to understand. The market falls 3 to 5 times faster than it rises. And I think this exact same pattern, if we get good numbers, could repeat again. Okay. So you need to watch this pattern. We'll look at the levels zoomed in, but you see it forming right here. Look at this. Here's your move up. There's your fractal high on the tip of the arrow. Your move down. and you got to watch this rebound. Do you just get a lower high with bad numbers, or do you get good numbers or decent numbers? Market comes up maybe to our target of the almost 5,900, right? Maybe comes up to that level. We're going to look at this on the daily and then starts breaking back down. I think it's going to top the identical way, looking at how this fractal is playing out. Now, key thing here is you had your down day. This was a down day. You're rebounding. You had your 2 down days, 2 up days. So if you look at this, timing wise, if this was to play out literally candle for candle, which I'm not predicting, guys, but if it was to play out candle for candle, you'd be looking at Friday for this false break top. And what comes out Friday? The non-farm payrolls and the unemployment number. So again, it's just amazing how things line up. So pay attention to this. Do not sleep on this topping pattern. We're going to zoom into it so you can see it. Let's look at the NASDAQ. What's the NASDAQ doing? 2007 on the left. The key thing I want to show you guys is we rallied until November 1st, right? Market topped October 11th on the S&P. NASDAQ continued to rally. Now, this is not the identical market from that time frame, right? So you have to be aware of that. But this is where the market topped, and for the S&P, and then NASDAQ kept running up. So we're going to watch this because, once again, just like everything else, guys, you have the W pattern that formed here. The W patterns are so great to trade because they adhere to Fibonacci. We'll zoom in so you guys can see that, but just be aware of this. And of course, with that non-farm, you're going to get the same type of reaction potentially. So we're going to watch this. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the ES here on the daily. And if you see this, there's your solar ring of fire solar eclipse, which is today. Let's go ahead and get rid of this so we can see the chart a little bit better. Key levels you want to hold here, your July 16th high, same high you had in 2007, which is right where you bounced off of. That's your fractal high. The next key level is just below it, 56.69. Okay, so if this was to come do this and make a lower high, make a false break, higher high, then come down, it's game on if you take out this level, right? You take out this 5,600 level because then you're coming back to the 50 right here. And if you come back to the 50, let's look at this from a perspective of fibs. Pull a fib up here. That's the 618. You come back to 55.60. If you take out the 50 and that acts as resistance, you're on your way down. You're on your way down in this overpriced, the third most expensive market in U.S. history. You're on your way down for a much deeper retracement. Of course, you'll get bounces at some point, guys, but we're talking about the turn, the cycle predicting a turn. And what your focus needs to be on, in my opinion right now, is quite literally this topping pattern with the catalyst coming this week. Now, we have the dock workers on strike as well, but that won't show up till the following jobs report. That's what I'm being told on Bloomberg anyways. So this number is going to be huge. And what I want to look at here, if we pull a fib from that fractal high, right, the intraday all-time high, the 618 at 57.89, 58.07 at the 786, right? You want to watch these numbers. 58.07, 58.30 was your intraday high. So you want to see if we get good numbers, what level do we come up to? And guys, when you start looking at this, if this is the retracement low right now, 58.58, 58.95. There's your 5,900 at the 1618. And if you look at this from the larger pattern perspective, which is how I've been trading these markets and giving you TA based on these markets, which is this W pattern, let's look at it from this perspective. Pull our fib down to that retracement low. Your 1618 was 58.40. So you want to watch that because we got the 58.30 right here. We never quite got there. So you could get a run up in anticipation of the numbers. See if this 1618 holds at 58.40. Because once again, that would be a false break pattern, breaking out above 58.30 and then turning. These numbers are going to be huge, guys. They're going to be huge because of the volatility you are getting in the market. The time frame, we just passed the fall equinox. Most key market reversals, tops and bottoms, happen within 3 weeks of the spring equinox, 3 weeks of the fall equinox. I'm not going to go down the litany, been over it many times. And of course, the higher level numbers, your 5,900, 6,100, when we pull our fibs from this other direction, or just look at larger patterns, right? Let's look and see how this goes on the Dow. On the Dow, we can take away this marker here for October 2nd. Dow made its all-time high on a closing basis, just like the S&P on September 30th on Monday. And look at the Dow, it's 42,521. What does the Dow have on it? The Dow has the same pattern the NASDAQ, the S&P have, which is your W pattern. So we can look at this from two perspectives, fractal high, Fibonacci retracement. 1618 was 42.7. 42.7 here at the 1618. You're at 42.521. You got all the way up to 43K. That's your high. Sold back off. But look, you're just stacking candles. It's awaiting this number. So if you get a breakout to the upside and you can take out that 42.7 because you get these job numbers for some more temporary euphoria, let's get those price targets on the Dow, because my blow off, when you measure it this way of the W, 1272 is at 42,524. Literally the price right now as I'm recording. The 1618 is at 43,607. So you got to take out this fractal high at 43K. You can get up to 43,607, and that would be your false break here on the Dow. Watch that level, key level. The Dow is only 30 stocks. It can move more violently than the S&P when it wants to. So you're going to pay attention to these levels. And of course, on the NASDAQ, we zoom out from the outside perspective here on the NASDAQ, guys. You look at the NASDAQ, and you have 216% up from the pandemic low down here. You see this? 216% up, 100% up from the cycle low of this cycle so far after all the stimulus, right, got pumped into the market. 100% up. That number was 20,623 on that ABC, which you got just above, almost to 21K. And now you formed, just like everything else, right? Now you formed your W pattern. So let's look at this, the key levels here on the W. If we look at this on the W, let's go ahead and pull our fibs from that midpoint up or down to the retracement low. 1272 was hit beautifully, 20,500. You sold back off. You're stacking candles kind of side by side right now. Your 1618 would take you back up to that 21,000. And if you look at this from your all-time high on the NASDAQ, pull it down to that cycle low there, the W low. If you look at this, the 786 is at 20,200. You're below it right now. You got all the way up to almost, what was that price there? 20,538, which is probably about the 886. Let's go ahead and add that on there so you can see it. Add the 886. Yep, almost a perfect hit on the 886. So you want to watch these levels above you, but for the NASDAQ to have more upside, this job number's got to come in good. Unemployment has to stay static, and then you want to watch these upside levels. 20,200. 20,600. And then if you can take out 21K, you're going up. And if you're going up, 22K, 23K, rounding it slightly up and rounding it slightly down. Okay. So just pay attention to these numbers. You look at the NASDAQ here on the daily, key support level you want to hold on the NASDAQ. You're right at it right now is your midpoint in your W, right? 20,025, your 20,054. You look at this from a fib perspective, pulling it up here on the W. The 618 is down here at 19.2 basically. Let's throw the 50 on here, get an idea of where that's at. The 50 is just above it. So basically, if you lose the 50, same concept, you're using that as resistance, right? So you want to watch this with those upside levels again, right? Just look at this with your fib retracement. You got right up to the 886. You got to take out 20,002, 20,006 and move up from there to get these higher level targets of 22 and 23K. So we'll see what that catalyst does. You look at the DAX, again, beautiful retracement, right? You got your up move. You got this big accumulation pattern we talked about. You got your up move. You sold back off. You look at this from a Fibonacci perspective, not a very deep retracement. So we put this on Fibonacci. So add our 382.5, see where this is at. And you didn't even come down to 382. So very shallow retracement from that leg, that up move leg. So again, the DAX is going to be the same, guys. What I'm looking at here, pulling my fibs from two different perspectives, because I showed you this every time, but what am I looking at? Just looking at this running W, right? I'm looking at this running W. So I'm going to pull my fibs from two different perspectives. We'll take a fib here from the midpoint, pull it down. You got just above the 1618, which is 19.5. You can see you're bouncing off that 19.2 area. So if you come back up to this, let me go ahead and remove this. Let's take a fib from our larger part of the W here. Actually, let's take the fractal high down to that retracement low. The 1272 is 19.5 as well. You see they marry up even when you're measuring them from different directions. The 1618 takes you to 20,200. Again, that would be a key psychological number. So if we do get one last push up, right? one last push up based on some data, and obviously this is a German market. Watch that 20,000 key psychological level you want to hold is right there at 19K, right? Because you got candles here, you have tops here, big accumulation pattern. So see what happens with the US markets, because the DAX is going to follow it. Looking at the Aussie market, 82.59, the number I'm really interested in, which is from the prior all-time high using a fib retracement back here in April 2022, down to your cycle low so far, 84.04 at the 1618. You're at 82.61. Want to watch 84.04, see if that holds up as resistance for our Aussie friends. And that could provide us, if we get a nice topping pattern somewhere in that area, that could provide us a nice reversal if we get that reversal in the US markets. Let's do something a little bit different here on Bitcoin. You guys have seen the patterns over and over. I've showed you fib targets. I'll still show them to you, but you have this channel, right? You've all seen that. The way you can look at this mathematically as well, which helped me predict this current top that we have, the all-time high. Look at your first top from April 21. Measure it 6.5% to your second top. Do you see that? Now measure that second top to the third top, 7%, right? There you go, 7%. So if you look at this and you say the market could go up 6.5 to 7% to the upside, if it continued this pattern, doesn't have to. We're just looking at options here. 6.5 to 7%, let's just say 7%, takes you right around to 79K, right? So when you look at this from fibs, from your all-time high down to your tracement level low, do we have anything around there? You got 80K right at the 1272. So just be aware of these targets that can form at some of these lower levels. Obviously 89K at the 1618. You guys have seen these numbers, 98K, which I've been calling 100K at the 200% move. Be aware of these targets, because a pattern that can form here when you're looking at this on a weekly basis is quite simply this. Let me draw this with an ABC. Let me move this over so you can see it. If you view the market zoomed out like this, right? You had this move, which is nothing more than a large three-wave double top pattern, right? When you look at it from this perspective, this is a false break double top. Perfect example. This is your prior high. You took out the high, but you ended up capitulating, falling 70+%, right? So it's a false break double top. These highs took out that high. And so it's a double top move. Now, you could have the same thing happening over here. This is what I want you guys to be aware of. So you have your wave up, your wave down. And if we get this last wave up, whether it's a false break to 80K, whatever it is, whether it comes up as a lower high, I think you're still going to make a new all-time high. But if it's a false break pattern to 80K, right up in that range, 79, 80K, it's literally the same topping pattern. Do you see that? It's literally the same topping pattern if it plays out that way as far as the wave movement is concerned. So watch these lower level numbers. Don't sleep on them just expecting 100K Bitcoin, because a lot of this is going to have to do with its corollary, its proxy, which is the NASDAQ. If the NASDAQ continues to run after the S&P and Dow top, more upside for Bitcoin. I'm more assured of it. Remember, Bitcoin didn't exist in 2007. So all this is just based on assumptions, right? But I look at the correlation of the NASDAQ and Bitcoin, which tracks anywhere from a spot 80 to spot 93. So an 80 to 93% correlation for market movements. If the NASDAQ has more upside, I expect more upside for Bitcoin, but be aware of those lower level targets, because you could just be repeating a three-wave top, okay? Let's look at Bitcoin here on the daily. We had a nice move up. We took out that first fractal at 65K. You're bouncing off the 50 moving average right now. Again, you're just forming yet another. I mean, just look at the shapes that you keep making here. You had this beautiful W pattern here, right? You had your double top here. You had another double top here, false break double top with a new high. And now you have just various W patterns forming on Bitcoin. You have this pattern right here, which is like a running W that could be forming. So you want to watch these levels. The key thing is getting back up into these highs that I keep talking about, right around that 70K region, right? 68, 72. Get back up in those highs. And this could be your slingshot that you're trying to do if Bitcoin wants to turn bullish. So let's just get some fibs on this. If we look at that fractal high, pull it down to the 50, 70K, 70,376. I'd like to see Bitcoin get up to this level. If it has to go sideways and chop, I want to see it go sideways and chop, but start reversing this trend. Now, you're starting to on a daily time frame, right? You had your low, your retracement level low. you have your higher low, you have another higher low, and now if this holds, you have another higher low. So you're starting to reverse the trend, but I want to see this move up to the upside. Start taking out these fractals, start building your base for your slingshot up to hit these higher level targets. Let's go ahead and look at Solana. Solana doing the same thing. It's right at the 50. Imagine that. So again, same concept, guys. You want to see Solana. Let's take the top of the range here down to that retracement low. You want to see Solana get up to the 50% fib right at 159. Need to see it get back above 171. Why? Because it puts it back in this grid. Okay. Puts it back in this grid with these prior tops right here. Get up here, start doing this, chop around whatever it has to do to get ready to break out to the upside. When we look at Solana's upside, again, you got to take out 210. That's the fractal high. If you do, you got 237. Again, lower level targets, be aware of them, guys. Higher level target, I have 272. And if it went parabolic, because Bitcoin went parabolic, I always look at the doubling of the range, a 200% move, which is 310. So just view it as levels. Check boxes, right? Did you take out 170? Check. Did you take out the fractal high of 210? Check. So then what's next? Watch 237. Watch 272. That's how you view the markets. Guys, hope you enjoyed the content. Definitely leave me a message on YouTube. I always reply. I may be slow this week because of all the work I got around the house, but I will reply to you. Be sure to subscribe. I'll check you guys out or talk to you guys on the next video, and check out our Discord, everybody. Take care, guys.